Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. It has been a while and I feel like I say that every single time I turn the camera on to record. I have kids staring at me from a room over there. But surprise, we're in a new setting, new house, and we have moved and there's a whole lot going on. No, I'm not pregnant. I will preface by that saying that I am not pregnant. My brother and sister-in-law are pregnant, due in September, and it's their third. And then one of Richard's brothers and his new wife are pregnant, but I am not. I have enough going on right now. So a little bit of an update real quick. If you don't follow on Instagram, I had issues in June from the way that my cesarean was done with our 10th baby, and my body crashed multiple times. A lot of people are telling me that quite a few people in person are telling me they didn't realize how bad it actually was for me. And just to make it very clear, like, my body legit was crashing a couple of days after he was born. I had an emergency exploratory surgery on June 9th. He was born on the 5th, and I had the exploratory surgery on the night of like the 8th to the 9th. It was like really early in the morning, to see what was going on. And they couldn't really find a lot except for the cesarean doctors had left behind excessive fluid and excessive bleeding that they didn't completely irrigate, I guess. And that can really cause problems. And it really did. Part of my bowel shut down and stopped functioning as a result of that. And that really is what took us through the whole course of events of my hospital stays through June, and then back into the hospital at the very end of June into July. My body just was trying to reset itself and just kept wigging out. And at the beginning of July, I finally came home. It was like 2 days after the 4th of July, I think is when it was. And I wasn't 100%. I was still in a lot of pain in my like diaphragm area. And I just kind of was dealing with it and taking muscle relaxers, and the appointments that I was having wasn't really clearing up the issues. The surgeon team wasn't really sure what was going on with my body. During that time, my husband and I prayed about making the decision to step away from the camping ministry that we were serving in, because it was going to need more time of him than he could allow if I ended up needing him on a random day, last minute, and needing to like pull him out of appointments and stuff. So he was gonna be able to travel, to recruit and share the mission and the vision and all of that kind of stuff. And even still, I have some hard days where he has to cancel his appointments and I'm like on the couch for a day or whatever. Most of the time it's functional pain. I just started physical therapy last week to help, because I had gotten my gallbladder taken out in September 9th was the day that my gallbladder was removed, thinking that the pain that I was having was related to like a gallbladder gone bad. They took pathology of that. They sent it off to the lab to kind of rule out cancerous cells in my gallbladder, and actually found out that my gallbladder was perfect and should never have been removed. So my body was like put under surgery, anesthesia again, one more time, and had to recover. And my gallbladder recovery was horrible. I know a lot of people say, well, I had mine out and then I was fine, instantly better. I was not that way. It took me 4 weeks to just even be able to like move more than 10-15 minutes at a time throughout the house, doing no heavy activities or whatever. I didn't eat hardly any fats for about a month and a half. I ate healthy carbs and lots of protein, lots of fruits and veggies, but I dropped like any extra weight I had on my body at all, and continued to have some pain. So after another month or two of continuing to have pain, being in contact with my surgery team, they suggested physical therapy. So I'm doing physical therapy for my pelvic floor, for my abdominal core, which, you know, I've had a lot of babies, so I've worked in between pregnancies to keep that tightened and toned up as best as I could, but never anything like with a major workout regimen. So there's still toning to be done. And honestly, I was kind of surprised that the pelvic floor was the thing that we were gonna have to target this time around, because I've never had any issues with my pelvic floor. I've never had any incontinence issues or anything like that. So that's kind of just a little update on me and where things are going. I eat full-time Trim Healthy Mama now, and I know that sounds like some network marketing scheme, but it's really not. That's my dryer. Laundry is always shuffling here, and that's my zone job. I'm keeping up on the laundry and making sure that that stays clean so that we don't have the massive piles of laundry, because for me, postpartum anxiety comes when like there's piles of laundry and piles of dishes and all sorts of messes. So keeping on top of the laundry and keeping that going really is helpful for me. But that is kind of the life update. We moved because my husband had to step out of that position. The house that we were living in was his compensation for that position. So we had to find a house in like the best market ever for buyers. Just kidding. And we're having a hard time because what we had, our budget was like this, and anything that would have a decent amount of space for us to actually live and function and not feel like we're on top of each other. Tiny house living is not for me. Just saying. It's been really cold and it's freezing outside, so we need to be able to have some space inside away from each other at times in the north, in the Michigan, okay? So we just need it. So that being said, it was really hard for us because we were looking at different housing options. They weren't kicking us out quickly by any means, but we were trying to be respectful of their time frame, knowing that there was things that would need to be cleaned and repaired and stuff like that. Just normal maintenance stuff in the other house before they could bring the next directors in. And this house started out listed way higher, and they dropped it down low because it sat on the market for a while in a really hot market. We took a look at it and it needed some love. So put lots of love into it. God provided every dollar that we put into it as far as down payment and the renovations for the house and getting things working and functioning and painted, and the floors sealed underneath the flooring that they had in here so that none of the pet smell was coming through. And yeah, we did a whole lot of work, a whole bunch of effort while I was still recovering from the surgeries I had and recovering from the big C. I had that in August. Knocked me out for a good 12 days. My husband about the same, and we were quarantined for like 20 days. Didn't go anywhere because we felt awful. I lost my smell, so when we looked at the house, I didn't know what it smelled like, but I thought this is gonna work. There's enough space for us. There's 10 acres of land. So yeah, that's the update. That's why I'm in new space. This is a new living room. I plan to hang kid pictures up on this wall here, a whole bunch of them, this whole space here, do the Vanna White thing. But to end the video, I am going to show you guys the homeschool history curriculum that we use. That this will be our next year of history. I reached out to Beautiful Feet Books a couple of months ago and asked them, hey, I'm going to be buying the next level of history from you guys, but I just wanted to know, I don't see a lot of videos or social media posting anything about your modern American and world history course for the intermediate level. So would you be willing to partner with me in exchange for a review? And they got back to me and they said yes. So I was really excited. I was very nervous to send that email because I'm nobody. But I mean, to my family, I'm everything. And to my husband, I'm everything. And to my friends, I'm hopefully a good friend. But to the internet world, it's not like I have this huge following or anything like that. But they said yes, and they immediately shipped us the whole level of curriculum. And it's been sitting and waiting. And then when I had to have the gallbladder surgery last minute, I went, oh, I really wanted to record an unboxing for it just to show people what comes in it. And then, talk about a couple of things I really like about Beautiful Feet Books. So first of all, first things first, let me show you the books that come in this big old box. And this is the box that this course comes in. So let's dig first. I'm going to dig down to the teacher's manual package here. Okay, so first things first, we have the timeline for this level. And the cool thing about the timeline is it comes with these little foldable things, but then you have black and white images that the kids can color. They don't have to color them if they don't want to. You can color them if you want to. I mean, it's your history, right? Then the teacher's guide here is this one, Modern American World History, a literature approach for intermediate grades. So I personally use this one for like 4th through 8th grade kind of level. And here's the color. Tells you what to read. It gives you ideas for questions. There's usually some additional literature suggestions. If you want to add to them, you can. And then these are all of the books. One of the books that they send that you get in the kit, if you buy the full kit, is this Child's First Book of American History. We have this from the first level, but now we have a second copy, which is fine because the illustrations in this are super awesome and the variety of stories is really good. And this is a really, these are really easy to read stories, I have found. So many different ages can understand them. So let's dig in to all these books. Super duper fun. Okay, so we have Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. This is actually something that's on a lot of reading lists, and there are, I believe there are more than just Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred Taylor. She has other books as well that are very beloved by all. Sergeant York by John Perry. Then we have Water Buffalo Days. This one looks really cool. Stealing Home, the story of Jackie Robinson. My husband was a baseball player in high school too, so I met him during his sophomore baseball season. Theodore Roosevelt by Genevieve Foster. Across 5 Aprils comes up in it. And this is by Irene Hunt. Number the Stars, which I was required reading for me in 5th grade, I think. Lois and Lowry. Echoes of the White Giraffe by Suk Nyul Choi. It says, my family and I ran away from the Russians in Pyongyang. Then once we settled in Seoul and were living a normal, happy life, we were driven away by the North Koreans and Communist Chinese. I don't understand how history and politics work, and maybe if I study in America, I will understand better. That's the background of it. That looks very interesting. Then we have The Little Woman, Gladys Aylward. We have done the YWAM book, I think, for Gladys Aylward. My son has that one. Ronald Reagan, Our 40th President. Winston Groom. I think it says Winston Groom. Just like sniffing books. Big fan of the book sniffing. Raise your hand if you're also a book sniffer. A History of Us, All the People Since 1945 by Joy Hakim. Let's see. Yes, this one has some charts and pictures and comics and things of the times. So that looks like it'll be a fun resource to use. Pack and Slip, super fab. Carver, Life in Poems, and I'm sure that this is George Washington Carver. Yes. George Washington Carver was born a slave in Missouri about 1864 and was raised by the childless white couple who had owned his mother. In 1877, he left home in search of an education and eventually earned a master's degree. Yes. Ooh. Super fabulous. Always take the covers off and look to see what the book looks like under the cover. Landmark Books. These are really good series of books. I love them. Every single one we've ever read, I've loved. The Wright Brothers, Pioneers of American Aviation. That one. The Singing Tree, sequel to The Good Master by Kate Saridi. Life on the Hungarian plains is changing quickly for Janksi and his cousin Kate. Father has given Janksi permission to be in charge of his own herd, and Kate has begun to think about going to dances. Janksi hardly even recognizes Kate when she appears at Peter and Mary's wedding, wearing nearly as many petticoats as the older girls wear. Nice. That sounds fun. 20 and 10 by Claire Hutchett Bishop. We'll read that one. I think we have this one on our bookshelf from another suggestion. It's very thin. Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, Dover Thrift Editions. And I think we have a couple other. Oh, it's very tiny print. I might have to have a magnifying glass for this one. The Year of Impossible Goodbyes, Suk Nyul Choi. It's the same author, it just is a very different font print, I believe. So I was like, whoa, yeah, it is like the totally different printing. Okay, so this one is, it's 1945 and the Japanese military has taken over Korea. Under the cruel occupation, 10-year-old Sukhan's world is torn apart. Her father leaves to fight with the resistance movement in Manchuria, and her older brothers are sent away to labor camps. Her mother is forced to supervise a sock factory. Sukhan herself must wear a uniform and attend a Japanese school. So, that looks like a good read. The Little Riders by Margarita Sheeman. I'm sure I said that wrong. Extended Vacation in Their Dutch Village. The Perilous Road by William O. Steele. We definitely have a copy of this, but it's a skinny little narrow copy. So hopefully the words are bigger. Yes, the words are bigger in this one. Be better for my getting old eyeballs, that's for sure. Air Raid Pearl Harbor, The Attack That Stunned the World, Theodore Taylor. This will be a good one to go over with kids. Rascal, Sterling North. I know we have a copy of this too, but this is a new one. It's looking fancy. I'm a big fan. My pom-pom is jiggling. It's a little chilly. We keep it a little cold in the house because we're on propane now. So, you know, keeping a hat on helps my head stay warm. And the last book in my box is War Boy, A Wartime Childhood by Michael Foreman. I don't think I've ever seen this one. Oh, it has pictures. This one has pictures. Lots of words. So I wouldn't call it like just a regular old picture book. It's like kind of a chapter book with some illustrations. That looks great. Awesome. So those are the books that come in Modern American and World History, the intermediate level from Beautiful Feet Books. And if you've never checked them out, one of the things, well, I'll give you a couple of things, but one of the things that I really, really love about Beautiful Feet Books, if I can talk correctly, hold on, power button, is that they give you, one, it's literature based. I find that my kids retain a lot more of history if they are connecting with characters in the books or the stories that are historical fiction or historical accounts of events. They connect better with history in our household, I've found, if they are hearing about the people and their lives from our stories and from our reading versus just reading the facts in a textbook. My oldest son kind of does his own study on top of it, and this is the history and the things he's interested in based on like literature that we have and textbooks and resources we have, and he digests the information pretty good through a textbook, so it's not as big of a deal for him. But when I'm wanting my kids to connect with the timeline in history and the periods of life that people have lived through, I found that literature really bridges the gap where textbooks kind of have fallen short in my experience. As a person who went through public schooling, I never could get the timing right of different things because I connected with the people, not so much like the actual dates on the paper. So I love that it's literature based. So you read the selections that they've given you, and then you talk about what you've read and you ask questions. And that leads me to something else I like about Beautiful Feet books is in their teacher's guides, they have questions to help you have like a springboard. So say you're a parent who's like, I don't really know what to ask. I don't really know what to talk, like, what should I ask them? What's important to remember from this chapter? They have prompts already. And that is one thing I love about it. And if you're like, was that the right answer? I don't know. They even have the answers, the expected or anticipated answers in the back. So you could even do this curriculum as an independent curriculum for a child who's old enough to read the literature selections on their own. And you could have them just do the questions, say like go to lesson 75, have them read the chapters 1 through 3 and number the stars, and then have them do in written format the answers up to the questions that they offer. So you could use it even as an independent curriculum for a student who can read if you wanted to. The other thing is they do a little bit of map work, usually not a ton in the literature levels so far. I know they're redoing some of the levels, and there's a little bit more included in the teacher's guides. So they could have a little bit more mapping in those levels. I'm not really sure because we have the old version of early American history, the intermediate level. However, one of my favorite things is it gives you enough to start, and then you can build off of it if you want to add more. For example, we were going through the whole big C, and I'm not saying the word because I don't want like the algorithm to pick up on that and try to like push this video to people because of that being in there. We were going through that, and then we had like just a whole bunch. The election was within our time frame of studying early American history, and a lot of topics about race and racism came up in our home, and we had a lot of conversations about what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, and where history has been in that regard, and why it was tolerated for so long, why it's still being tolerated on some levels, and why we're those people who don't want to associate and be a part of that. So we pulled a ton of different resources and books to diversify into our study. So it literally took us 2 years to go through early American history because we pulled in so much to flesh out the ugly parts of history. Not that we had to, because Beautiful Feet does add in some diversity, and they don't make anybody out to be a hero that really, in my opinion, shouldn't be a hero. But they give you enough that if you just do what's in their book, your kids are going to get a good understanding of the periods of time and stuff that you're going through. They also offer other literature packs and studies and all of those kinds of things. I'm looking at the history of the horse for my oldest couple of girls because they really like horses and working with horses, thanks to camp. But if you've not checked them out before, I highly recommend it. And if you have any questions about Beautiful Feet books, you can leave a comment below. And if you just want to say, hey girl, hey, glad to see your face and your pom-pom stocking cap flopping all over the place, you can leave a comment below. If you're new and you haven't subscribed yet, thanks for checking in. I know everybody else on the planet, like who does YouTube, says welcome at the beginning. I just assumed you were, my best friend coming in anyways. But go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss uploads. So I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.